Now there are vans coming to the temple. Certain groups paid by themselves. I heard that one of us, Moyet, is going to do as well. To take the van to the temple, you can, but you still need to register. Otherwise, you cannot come into the hall. Because if you don't register, there's not enough space in the hall. Now there are courses. People who attend the courses and they want to come into the hall, they also need to register. This is fair for everyone. Talking about Dhamma practice. Now the assistant teachers told me that some people asked them about Dhamma practice. Some of them learned from other places. To submit homework here, it's confusing. It's difficult for them to correct their old practice. I used to also face this problem in the past when someone came to see me until they have a knowing mind, and then they went back to ask other teachers. They reversed what was taught, and the knowing mind disappeared, just became the focusing mind. So it back and forth like this many times. It's quite difficult to make progress. Some people said to me that there are other places that teach the knowing mind, the stable knowing mind, teach exact the same phrase. But actually, despite saying that the mind is focused, is overly focused, is a fabricated kind of equanimity. Therefore, it's possible for the sentence to sound the same, but the core practice is different. There's a good phrase from one of the old forest masters. It's called the knowing mind. The mind that knows, the mind that is luminous, not the mind that is fabricating. The mind that knows, meaning the duty is to know, not to intervene. The principle of knowing is not to try to intend to know. Usually for you guys, when you want to start practice, your mind will wander for an object for the mind to focus on. And you think that this is practice. Actually, this is not. This is fixating the mind, focusing on something on the mind. The mind that wanders for an feeling or object is equivalent to like sampavesi, which is like the ghostly realm. So it's the wandering kind of ghost and trying to find object. So this kind of mind, if they get object that is good, then they have good becoming good birth. But if they get the bad object, then negative things will occur. So this mind is wandering and trying to find, like a ghost. So have you met ghosts? What do they look like? You don't know? Some people like to say that once you are dead, you become spirits and ghosts. Actually, when you die and the last consciousness disappear from this realm, the next consciousness arise in another realm immediately. They don't wander around. Now, for some people who has good and bad karma, sometimes they are born in a kind of spirit realm where they will need to be they will need to meet like a death reaper who will help them to decide where they go, to heaven or hell. But so when now I'm just using this as a metaphor. When the mind is wandering, finding for a meditation object, in this kind of things, there's no description of these things in the scripture, so I use my own metaphor. The mind that is wandering for object is a scattered mind. Now, if we know that the mind is wandering, then the wandering will stop. The mind will not be scattered, and the mind will automatically knows, become stable. Now, this state of mind is what the old masters called the stable knowing mind. When we are aware of the scattered mind, the knowing mind will appear. How can the mind wander? The mind can wander to the six sense base, to think, to feel, to focus, to fixate. Do you realize that just when you realize, when you look at the object, your mind wanders to the object? In Thai we say หลงไหล means to wander and to flow. When the nun taught her nephew, the nephew was quite smart, and he said that the fixating mind is like a wandering mind, but the wandering that is more smart to wander, to fixate on something. Therefore, to fixate on the various objects, this is not really not the knowing mind that is correct. Now, there are two ways to get the right stable knowing mind. Firstly, is the way to enter jhana 2, and from jhana 2 you will have the knowing mind that arises from the meditation. And this knowing mind is very stable, and it can last for a week or two even after you came out from the meditation. Now, most of you cannot enter mental absorption or jhana. So in order to have the knowing mind, what you need to have is mindfulness of the wandering mind. Mindfulness will arise when you can remember the wandering mind, what it looks like, so that when the wandering mind appears, the knowing mind automatically appears. Now, in order to remember the knowing mind, you need to practice a lot and have mindfulness. It's like we meet someone every day, we can remember his or her face clearly, but sometimes even your siblings, if you don't meet them for decades, when you see them you don't remember. So therefore, in a similar way, in order to have the knowing mind, you need to remember the wandering mind. You need to remember the wandering mind clearly, and that's when the knowing mind will automatically arise. And in order to remember the wandering mind, you need to have a kind of meditation object. And the purpose of the meditation object is to see that the mind does not stay with the meditation object, but it also wanders away from the meditation object. So when the mind wanders away from the meditation objects, you are aware that the mind has wandered, and this is remembering the wandering mind. So for example, you can chant Putto, Putto, and then your mind suddenly wander away to think about the Miss Universe that you saw in the news. And then you think about the face that appears during your meditation, during your Putto chanting. And then you become aware that your mind has wandered away from the meditation object to another object. And when you know this, then the wandering mind will stop and the knowing mind will appear. The knowing mind is opposite to the wandering mind. With the knowing mind, the wandering mind will disappear. So, and if the mind becomes fixated, if the mind is scattered from the meditation object, then it's called uttacca in Bali Sanskrit, and it means that the mind is flowing out, scattered. So now if you can recognize that the mind is scattered, then the mind becomes the knowing mind, because when you have mindfulness, you are temporarily liberated from defilements. And when there's no defilement, there's no wandering mind. They cannot occur together. Mindfulness can only occur with the wholesome mind. Therefore, you need to have a meditation object where the mind resides. And if the mind abandons that meditation object, you will be able to recognize that the mind has flowed away. So if you're chanting Putto, if the mind flows away to the Miss Universe or flows to the Donald Trump, maybe you pity him that he had COVID and then he lost the election. Now this is the wandering mind. You got Putto and you only have Trump. So now when you chant Putto, is intention to think Putto, but then when the mind wandered away from Putto, then you know that the mind wanders away. Now you use Putto as a reminder to tell yourself that you are with Putto, because why? You cannot think about many things at once. You can only think Putto, Putto, Putto. And then you think another person calls for a meeting and you forgot Putto. The purpose of meditation object is to use it as a way to observe the mind. To observe the mind that it has forgotten about the meditation object. This is the key principle. If you can grasp this, then you can do it. Usually for other people, when they do Putto, they only use it to calm the mind, to fixate the mind. When the mind is fixated or calm, it doesn't mean that it's a wholesome mind. It can be an unwholesome mind. Fixated mind, focused mind, calm mind can also occur with an unwholesome mind. So meditation, the kind of meditation that is calm can arise with both wholesome and unwholesome mind. but mindfulness can only arise with the wholesome mind. So therefore you have a meditation object and your mind flows into the meditation object and becomes bright and calm. Then you only get the calmness meditation, which is not so good. But if you are aware of the mind that is fixated or has flowed into this emptiness, brightness, or your hands or legs, if you can see this flowing mind, then this is the best. Because the moment you see this flowing mind, the knowing mind will appear. Once the knowing mind appears, this is the very important. Why is this important? The knowing mind will know rather than think, rather than fabricate thoughts. Usually for the untrained mind, the mind is always mired in thoughts. Even when they think they are practice, they are thinking they want to this and they want to that. It's different. That kind of calmness is like quite stubborn, quite dumb, not the same mindfulness calmness. That kind of dumbness, meditation calmness is a wrong meditation. Now if we don't have the knowing mind, we will not be able to separate between what is the knowing mind and what is the object that is being known. When you have this knowing mind, you can separate out the aggregates, separate out the mind and body. So for example, now if you sit and your mind is wandering in thoughts, you forget about the body, and or if you think that you're sitting, you are just thinking. But if you can see, you can know, then you will see that the body is sitting, not you are sitting, not the self that is sitting. Now if you look at your body now, do you feel that you are sitting or the body is sitting? Don't lie to yourself. Who sees that they are sitting? It's good that you see that you are sitting. Who sees that the body is sitting and that the mind is observing? For these people, they can separate out the mind and body, the form and formless. The mind that knows is the mind that knows, not thinking, flowing, fabricating. So the knowing mind, when the mind knows about the body, you will see that the form, the body is sitting, the mind is observing. The body is being observed, it's not us. You will see this. Now the body is breathing. Can you see it? Can you feel it? When you are breathing, do you see that you are breathing, or is the body breathing? If you see that you are breathing, then the knowing mind hasn't really appeared. Now tell me frankly, who feels that they are breathing? Who feels that the body is breathing? Raise your hand. Good, you are making some progress. The body that is breathing, does it say that it's us? It's not us. But if the mind is wandering into thoughts, and when this thinking mind sees the body, it becomes my body. My body is sitting, my body is breathing. That is us, that is self. But if there's the knowing mind, then there is no self. The self will disappear. You will only just see the body that is sitting, standing, eating. It's not us, it's just an object that is being known. And this will slowly allow you to uproot the delusions. And once you can fully uproot this sense of self, this is when you achieve the stream entry as a stream enterer. Therefore, whatever you practice, use it, remember the right objective. The stream enterer will be freed from the sense of selves. So Luang Po just went through the 5 aggregates and the different functions, and the knowing mind is under the consciousness aggregate, but the knowing mind is aware that actually these 5 aggregates are not self. There's nothing in these 5 aggregates that are self. If you can see this, then you will get Dhamma. So it's about the mind that knows and not us that knows. The mind is aware of the body that moves, that sits, stand, that is not us moving, thinking, sitting, breathing. If you can do this, then you uproot the wrong view that there is a self. So this kind of observations will help to erase the delusion of self. So observe the body, that it is not us, is just acting in this way and that way. The body is doing on its own. When you eat, who's eating? When eating, who's eating? Is the body eating, or is the mind eating? Yes, there are beings that use the mind to eat, like the ghosts. But as a human, if you use the mind to eat, then it is not there's a delusion. Actually, the body is eating, not us eating. When you are defecating, the body is defecating, not you. The mind is just being aware. If you keep being aware like this, then you will be able to uproot the sense of self. So sometimes when good and bad sensations arise, like when you sit for a long time and then the pain arises, then you see that the body is separate from the painful sensations. So now if you want to separate out the body and the pain, just sit for a long time, and then then the pain arises, and then you see that the pain is separate from the body. And then when you sort of move the body around a little bit, the pain disappears, but the body is still there. So you see that the pain comes and goes, is different to the body, and is so different from the mind. The mind is just recognizing, sensing it. And if you have a knowing mind, you will not feel that you are in pain. You will just sense that there is pain. So if you go see the dentist, then you get your teeth pulled out. If you have a knowing mind, you will see that the pain is not in the teeth, it's in the gum. But also the pain is also not in the gum, but also separate from the gum, separate from the mind. So you are separating out the aggregates. If you just observe like this, then you will see that the pain is not us. If you see that the pain is us, then you are crazy. But usually you think that you are in pain. But once you have the knowing mind, then you will see that the pain is separate from us, from the mind. It's not us. The feeling of happiness and sadness as well. It's not us that is feeling the happiness or pain or sadness. It's just separate from the mind. And then if you keep observing this, then you will realize that there's no self anywhere in any of the aggregates. Body is not us, sensation is not us, happiness, sadness is not us. It's just a kind of object that is being known by the mind. Greed, anger, delusion are also not us, but most people think that I'm angry, I love, and that's when they are mind in thoughts. Have you ever been angry and you feel that I'm angry? Raise your hand. That I'm angry. Or when you're angry, you say, so Long Po is just using like the rude and polite words in Thai to represent me. So when you're angry, you use the root form of me to say I'm angry. But if you have mindfulness, you will realize that anger is not really us. It's just a sensation that comes from the chest, and if it's powerful, it covers the mind, and when it goes up to the head and covers the mind, and then when it does that, the body starts to feel the anger, releasing adrenaline, and the heart beats faster. The similar way, when the body has lust, the heart also beats faster. So usually when defilements arise and it overcomes you, the heart will beat faster. It also affects this kind of desires, and defilements also affect the bodies. So when you're super angry and you have mindfulness, you will see that it's a kind of energy that arises from the chest and tries to overcome you, and it wants you to destroy. But if the mind is stable in knowing that it won't be overcome, you will see that anger is something separate from the mind. Greed is separate from the mind. If you want something, have you ever want something? So when you want something, then if you want something, it means that at that moment there's no knowing mind. But if there's a knowing mind, then you will see that there's greed that arose and disappeared. It's like a dream that arises and disappeared. Happiness, sadness, goodness, badness are all like dreams, arise and disappear, not us. But if we don't have the knowing mind, it becomes us. The body moves because I move. Body is feeling good and bad, then it becomes me feeling good and bad. When you feel anger, want, lust, then it becomes you, because your mind is scattered. Therefore, to practice, need to have the knowing mind first, and to have the knowing mind, you need to have the meditation object first. So, for example, if let's say your breath is like this microphone, and then when the mind wanders away from the object, and when you are aware of this wandering mind, at that moment there will be the knowing mind. The knowing mind is not at the meditation object. The meditation object is just like a bed for the knowing mind. And then when the mind wanders away from the knowing mind, then you are aware. So the meditation object is not the knowing mind. It's just the mind. It's just the bed to attract the mind. And then when this mind wanders away from the meditation object, like a fish, like fishing, you drop the bait into the water. The meditation object is like a bait. When the fish comes to the meditation object, to the bait, then you are aware. And when the fish moves away from the bait, you are also aware. That's the knowing mind. So when you fish, when the fish hasn't come, you pay attention to the bait, But when the fish comes, you look at the fish. Similar way, meditation object is not for the purpose of those meditation object itself, but to use it to be aware of the mind. To be aware of the mind. So when the mind wanders away from the meditation object, you are aware that the mind has wandered away. So where is the mind? It's formless. There is no place it resides. You don't know where it is. Do you know where your body is? The body is in the space. Akasathat, the air element, is not air but space. The body is in the space, but where is the mind? The mind is where it knows. Wherever you know, that's the knowing mind. It's fun. So when I was a lay person before I met Luang Pudun, I practiced every day for the purpose of nirvana. But after I met Luang Pudun, I forgot about nirvana. I just wanted to be aware of the mind. At first the mind is, I grasped on the mind and thought that I exist, but after a while the mind shouts that there is no self. The body, when you are aware, you see that the good, bad sensations are separate from the mind. It's not us. You see the good, bad, greed, anger that arise in the mind as a thing that is being observed by the mind, not us. And then later on, I saw that the mind itself, the knowing mind, is impermanent. It becomes the wandering mind. The wandering mind is also impermanent. So it changes back and forth. When the mind wanders, it can wander in many ways. Wander to the different six sense based, the sight, the smell, the sound, etc. So the mind wanders, or even you can wander to be fixated on the meditation object. So when you are aware of this phenomenon's wandering mind, then the knowing mind appears. But don't try to retain the knowing mind. The way to get the knowing mind is to be aware of the wandering mind. That's when you get the knowing mind. And if you are skillful in being aware, being mindful, then knowing mind will appear more frequently. So once you see this, then you will see that sometimes the mind wanders, sometimes the mind knows, and because they're opposite from each other. Usually when you flip a coin, it's either one side or the other side of the coin. That's usually, it doesn't stand up. So the mind is the same. It's either the mind that knows or the mind that wanders. So the knowing mind, if you don't try to intervene to retain it, then you will see that the knowing mind also arise and fall away. So there's no self. So now do as I taught. The body is sitting, the body is breathing. The good and bad feelings arise. It's not us. The good and bad sensations are vedana, or sensations or feelings. It's not us. It's not us that is feeling, but it's just sensations that is being sensed by the mind. If you just keep practicing this, then one day you'll get nirvana. Is it difficult? If you think it's difficult, please nod. Do you see that the body is nodding? If you are wandering in thought, then you think that the nodding mind is you. So usually most people are lost in wandering mind. And when they do this, then they'll fight because they think that I and you, they will fight. Rao, mi khao, mi rao. So Long Paul is just, you are just using a play on the Thai words. So people of your generation, some people perhaps have achieved enlightenment. So Luang Por is just saying that sometimes people who learn Dhamma at the same time as you in previous lives, they perhaps have already achieved nirvana, but you haven't. That's why you are rebirth. So please use the time wisely. So now, if you see the body moving, or like me moving, is it Luang Por Pramote moving or the body moving? So if you look at me moving my hands like this, then it's not Luang Por Pramote moving, but it's just the body that is called Luang Por Pramote. And if you see and then you hear, and then based on this sight and sound, you feel happiness or sadness, then you see the happiness and sadness, and it's not us, it's just something that arises. But if you cannot separate out the aggregates, then you cannot really do vipassana. To do vipassana, you need to have the initial wisdom, that is the ability to separate out the aggregates, the body and the mind, that is separate. And over time, you will see that the mind or the formless aggregates are also being observed. So keep practicing. So this is how you get good stuff in the Dhamma practice. I declare that I will not be reborn with you guys again. I'm bored of your faces. It's just joking. So for the homework, number 22, I use Putto chanting and observe the phenomena. Sometimes I see the arm movements and the eye is blinking, and then I try to pull back the mind, except for when I'm angry, and then I lost mindfulness, and then I feel bad for being angry, and I cannot separate out the anger and the self, the knowing mind. So just do what I said. But you also need to have some calmness meditation. Today I thought about wisdom. You need to do some meditation for the mind to recharge and get rest. If you do vipassana all the way, then sometimes the mind also becomes scattered of the vipassana. Now your mind is wandering. Now your mind is fixating. When you are fixated, the mind becomes dumb and tense. Now you are slightly fixating. If you are fixating a lot, then it becomes like this. So don't do it. It's not good. Maybe if you do it too much, you'll have psychological problem. Can you see the mind that is thinking? Just keep being aware. To be good, you need to carve out some time for formal practice without expecting for the results. But if you keep having formal practice every day for months, you will observe that the mind is different. It will have more energy, more strength than this. Now your mind has no has no energy. It's like a battery that is low on power, that is wandering all the time. Therefore, you need to stay with mindfulness. If you stay with mindfulness often, then you will practice better. Number 72. I submitted homework. In the past, I was fixating the mind. Now I practice based on what you're teaching. I see the wandering mind sometimes. Your mind is still fixated because it's habitually fixated. Now you are fixating. Can you feel that you are fixating? Let me tune my mind to be like you. Can you see? This is fixating the mind. Fixating is because of the desire to get better. If you have this desire to get better, it's difficult to avoid fixating the mind. The root cause of fixating the mind is your desire to make progress. But once you become aware of this intention, then your mind will be free from the fixation. But if you have to choose between fixating the mind and super wandering, then fixating is still better. But if it's super fixated, then it's not as good as a wandering mind. Because a wandering mind, the worst case is you reborn as an animal and over time you die very quickly. But if you become over fixated, then you could be reborn as a Brahma, where you stay for eons and then you miss the chance to practice Dhamma. So just be aware of your fear of the wandering mind. So when you fear of the wandering mind, then you fixate the mind. Don't fear the wandering mind. It's normal for the mind in our realm to have wandering. So go easy on yourself. Don't be too serious on yourself. If you be too serious like this, then it's exhausting, but it's not fruitful. Just breathe and relax. If your mind is heavy or light or scattered or focused or calm, just be aware. Whatever it is, just be aware. And with this awareness, over time, the mind will become more and more calm. So if you want to know and then you try and you fixate, then that's not good. So just be aware when the mind wanders, and that's when you know. You cannot stop the mind from wandering. So from now on, when the mind wanders, just know, just be aware. You can use Putto, and when you forget about Putto and think about other things, then just recognize that you forgotten Putto, and that's when you start to know. Your mind has too limited energy, not enough strength. So therefore, you need to do more meditation. Go breathe, go do Putto, do every day. Don't intervene or fixate the mind. Don't try to make it calm. Don't try to make it still. So don't scold your mind for moving. Just be aware. And if you are frequently aware, then the knowing mind will appear more and more. Your practice is okay, better than before. In the past, you are much more fixated, but now it's just some traces of fixation. Number 77. In the past, I practiced according to mind control the body, body control the mind. No, regardless of what I always come to the body. Now I follow your teaching, even though there is I get the knowing mind, I still use it to observe the body. And when observing the body, sometimes I think. Luang Por said that your practice is correct, but it's not really vipassana yet. Vipassana is not thinking. Vipassana actually doesn't have to know a lot. It's just either see impermanence, suffering, or non-self. That is vipassana. But you're thinking this and that is just a trick to control your desire. So you can use it for the mindfulness. You can use any of the base. You can use the body, the sensation, the mind, or Dhamma. Now you're using the body. Can you feel that the body is you? Do you know that you're standing now? Do you feel that you are standing? Because you don't have the knowing mind. But if you have the knowing mind, then you will not feel that you are standing, but the body is standing. So when if you use the body, and if you see that the mind is fixated, if you can see that the mind is fixated on the body, then the knowing mind will appear. Or if you see that the mind has wandered away from the body, or wanted to think about the body, and then when you see that the mind is thinking, that's when the knowing mind appears. So when you are aware of the thinking mind, even if the mind is thinking about the body, it has already not from the body, not in the body, not with the body. But if you have the knowing mind, then you'll be freed from the thinking mind. So if you haven't know the knowing mind, if you do not have yet the knowing mind, then you haven't really grasped the core of the practice. This is what the masters taught. So it's possible for you to observe the body to see the mind. This is what Luang Pu Man taught as well. So when you see the body and the mind is fixated on the body, you see the mind, that's the knowing mind. Or you see the mind wandering away from the body, you see the mind wandering away, that's the knowing mind. Good, you have good discipline in your practice, determination. I anumodana on your practice. But when you stand, please be aware that you are standing, that you are nodding, that the body is nodding, not you. Just think about this. This is not vipassana, but it's a kind of trick to help separate out from the body, to see that the body and the mind are separate. Number 80. My mind is scattered and sort of dumb. And when I sit meditation, I cannot really practice. I try to observe the state. Your practice is okay, but it doesn't have enough energy. So you need to have formal practice each day, like maybe half an hour a day, to pay homage to the Buddha. Use that time to be with your breath or meditation object. Even if the mind is scattered, just be aware. You're not doing it for calmness, just be aware. If you just keep being aware, whatever it is, then meditation will arise quickly. But if the mind is scattered and you don't like and you want calmness to appear, then it will not be calm. But if once the mind is relaxed and you accept and you just be aware, let it be scattered and don't fight against it, and just be aware. Do this over and over, then the mind will be calmer and calmer. Once the mind becomes more calmer and calmer, when it starts to wander away and the knowing mind appears, it's gonna be more stable. And over time, you also see that the knowing mind also temporary. It sometimes switch back and forth between the knowing mind and the wandering mind. At the end, both minds are not us. So the objective, to set the correct objective, is to free yourself from Sakkaya Ditthi, or the wrong view that there is a self. So just use what I taught you. Your practice is okay, but that's not enough mental strength. The body is nodding now. Is it you or the body that is nodding? If you lose mindfulness, then it's you nodding. But if there's mindfulness, then it's the body that is nodding. At night, when I sleep, when I turn left and right, I see that the body turns left and right. I see the body flip around. Not me. So just keep practicing. It's not difficult. Number 109. I listen to you from YouTube. Usually when I'm stuck at any problem, I usually find answers in your YouTube. But now I'm not sure of my current state. It feels fixated, but it's not so fixated. I feel some pain. So Long Po said that your head has been hit. So before you sit, prepare loving kindness. So where it's painful, it's actually it's not you. It's just negative bad spirits outside who hits you. Sometimes you feel multiple pain. Sometimes when I sit, there are sounds on my head, like something hits the helmet armor, but it doesn't hit my head. So with loving kindness, you can protect yourself. If your practice is not good, then Mara will not try to stop your practice. Have loving kindness, and just think that you practice for the purpose of paying homage to the Buddha, that you give this body to the Buddha, and just keep practicing and don't worry about it. Don't worry if whatever happens to the body, just let it be. And when you do this, then there'll be more calmness, more energy, and when there's more positive energy, negative energy cannot affect you. Just keep practicing. When you feel blur, it's not abnormal. Why do you get hit? Because it's karma. It's not that everyone gets hit. You need to have karma. Perhaps you have hit the head of a fish before. Has any of you in this room hit the head of the fish to kill it? Who has cut the throat of the chicken? It's the same person. In the past, there was a monk who came to ordain here. Whenever he practiced Dhamma, he feels great pain. I asked him, what did he study? He said that he studied becoming a vet. As a vet, you need to kill animals. You kill chickens, you kill duck, and also that person once killed a cow. So when he practiced, he felt pain here and there. So when he went to the doctor, he couldn't find anything. It's karma. It's the karma. So have loving kindness. It's like you walk into hit your head on the lamppost and your head is injured. You cannot ask the injury to disappear. Whatever results you are reaping now is because of your actions in the past. Now the thing is for you to do the right actions today. You cannot correct what is happened, but you can do the right thing today and make it better. Good, your practice is good. 136. Can you please teach me to have the knowing mind? Your knowing mind is okay, but it's just temporarily. So now you see that the wandering mind, right? And that's when the knowing mind appears for a moment. The reason that your mind is like this because you know already about the knowing mind. So just keep observing. Just keep practicing. In the future, the knowing mind will also not be us. Number 146. I practice according to what you taught. I know that I'm making progress. Defilements are lessening, especially anger. My mind is becoming more bright. I just want to ask you to teach me how to protect against vipassana, the pitfalls of vipassana. So Luang Por said that you need to have meditation. So when you do vipassana but there's not enough mental energy, then you could experience vipassana. So in each day, just whenever you're free, do calmness meditation so that it has enough mental energy. When the mind is stable in knowing, then it will not be affected by vipassana. Or even if you are affected by vipassana, but if the mind is stable in knowing, then vipassana will disappear. When you practice, don't fixate. If you fixate, there will be a tense feeling in the chest. Just relax, but don't try to relax. Just let it be. Whatever it is calm or not calm, just let it be. It will be calm over time. Just accept it as it is. And practice and observe that the aggregates are all functioning on their own, separate it out. And then when there's time, do formal practice on calmness meditation. It's good that what you're doing, but now your minds are not back at the home base, it's outside. It hasn't come home. So if you do this, then when you practice vipassana, it's possible for you to have vipassana. So breathe now, just breathe. Can you see that now you are different from before? Now your mind is stable. So if your mind is stable, there won't be vipassana. But if your mind was scattered like just now, there could be vipassana. Number 158, the last one. I've studied with you since 13 years ago. Now the world is oppressive on me. The world is ever chaos and oppressive. Sometimes the world outside is peaceful, but your own world is not peaceful. You are part of the world. The world will never be peaceful Whenever you want the world to be peaceful, that's when your mind will not be peaceful. But you can accept the world as it is, that you and the world itself will experience peacefulness and calmness sometimes, and sometimes it becomes the opposite. So if you can accept this as the fact, then your mind will become peaceful. It will not go up and down with the world. For example, if you do business and now there's COVID and your business is suffering, and you want if you want COVID to disappear, but COVID doesn't go, the more you desire, the more you suffer. If you cannot accept this fact, then you will suffer. Or if your girlfriend dumps you, then you cannot help it because she's dumping you. You want her to stay with you. You have the desire for her to stay. That's when you feel chaotic. Therefore, when there are problems in the world, just accept that this is the norm of the world. The world has never been still. The world has never always be peaceful or calm all the time. Like politics, there will be calm periods and then chaotic periods. It's normal for the world over. But when your mind are happy and sad according to the world, then the world has an impact on you. Now just keep practicing mindfulness. If the mind fluctuates up and down with the world, and just being aware, over time your mind will grow, will develop, and in the future, even if the world is up and down, your mind will be peaceful. Your practice is okay. Just observe the mind that is fluctuating with the world. You cannot change the world. Have mindfulness at your own mind. If the mind is peaceful, you don't have to care about the world. That's all? Yes, that's all. Some people study with me, there's no problems, but sometimes you go learn with the assistant teacher. You learn Dhamma with the intention to protect your own self, your own ego. If you have that, then you will find it hard to learn. Let go of your ego when you go see the assistant teacher. Try to get the benefit from the experience of the assistant teacher, because they have practiced and been through similar experience before. So if you go to the assistant teachers with ego, then it wastes both your time and their time. Dhamma can only flow to the heart of the gentle soul, gentle people. It's like a sponge. If the sponge is soft, then water can flow into it. But a rock that is hard, Dhamma cannot flow into it. The heart that is hard cannot accept Dhamma. The heart that is soft and gentle can accept Dhamma. In the past, Buddha said that when you enter mental absorption, once you come out from the mental absorption and you have the knowing mind, Buddha said that you have the mind that is gentle, that is gentle and soft, and that is a good mind to know the phenomenons. So therefore, have the gentle mind, but with your gentle mind, make sure that you absorb the right things. If you go to the places that teach the wrong views, then you absorb the wrong views. Okay, that's all.